Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom where castles rose beneath deep blue skies, there lived the beautiful Princess Snow White. Her eyes were like twinkling stars, and her hair was black as night. However, the evil queen, her stepmother, was deeply jealous of Snow White's radiant beauty. The evil queen, a ruler of extraordinary beauty, was overcome with envy as she consulted her magic mirror. Every day, the mirror's answer enraged her more. Snow White is the most beautiful in the kingdom. Consumed by envy, the evil queen devised a Machiavellian plan to eliminate the threat to her beauty. Disguised as an old witch, she offered Snow White a poisoned apple, capable of putting her into a deep sleep. The poison was as subtle as the shadow of night, and Snow White succumbed to its effect. Alerted by a loyal servant, Snow White escaped the castle and found refuge in the enchanted forest. The woods, filled with whispering trees and curious animals, became their new home. The young princess, once surrounded by luxury, now shared her life with nature. Walking through the forest, Snow White discovered a small house. Upon entering, he found 7 beds, one for each dwarf who lived there. Danga, Feliz, Soneca, Dengoso, Achim, Mestre and Zangado, dwarfs with pure hearts, welcomed her into their home. Snow White, in turn, brought light and joy to that little house. Despite her new home, the evil queen was determined to achieve her revenge. Disguised again, she offered Snow White the poisoned apple. The princess, in her purity, succumbed to a deep sleep, surrounded by an atmosphere of sadness. The 7 years, upon discovering a tragedy, were overcome by sadness. Yet hope invites in their pure hearts. Believing in the power of true love, they deposited Snow White in a glass coffin, waiting for the moment when a prince faced awakening. The news of the sleeping beauty reached the ears of a noble prince. Inspired by the legend, he embarked on a journey to find the princess who could break the spell. Navigating through dense forests and facing challenges, he arrived at the clearing where Snow White rested. Upon seeing the princess, the prince instantly knew that she was the love he was looking for. His kiss, filled with true love, broke the spell. Snow White awoke, and the forest glowed with light and joy. The dwarves, prince and princess, returned to the castle, ready to face the evil queen. By confronting the evil queen, Snow White showed that true beauty lies in kindness and love. The evil queen, defeated by her own darkness, faced justice. Happiness and peace were restored to the kingdom. Snow White became the queen of the kingdom, alongside the prince who awakened her. The dwarves, now respected advisors, helped rule wisely. The kingdom flourished under Snow White's righteous leadership, transforming adversity into strength, sorrow into joy, and darkness into light. Once upon a time, on a small planet called B612, there was an adorable little prince with golden hair and curious eyes. He spent his days tending to his rose, which bloomed on his planet. However, the little prince felt that there was something more out there, something beyond the borders of his tiny home. One starry night, while observing the sky, the little prince saw a shooting star that inspired him to explore the vast universe. Driven by an inexplicable desire for discovery, he decided to build an improvised spaceship with the resources available on his planet. Before leaving, the little prince said goodbye to his beloved rose, promising to return with exciting stories to share. With a heart full of hope, he embarked on his interstellar journey. As he traveled from planet to planet, the little prince encountered peculiar creatures, each with their own story and life lesson. He met an asteroid inhabited by a wise ant who taught him about hard work and cooperation, and a moon where dreaming beings lived who inspired him to keep his dreams alive. On his journey, the little prince visited strange and surreal planets where the concept of time was fluid and the landscapes constantly changed. On one of these planets, he discovered a cosmic clock that made him reflect on the importance of each moment. On his travels, the little prince befriended a lonely star that shone with sadness. He discovered that the star had lost its neighboring constellation and was feeling lonely in the vast universe. Compassionately, the little prince promised to help her find her way back home. The little prince's adventure continued, taking him to distant and exotic places. He learned valuable lessons about friendship, compassion, and respect for diversity. Each encounter and experience contributed to his growth as a cosmic being. Finally, after many adventures, the little prince decided it was time to return to his beloved planet B612. He returned home with stories to tell, cosmic gifts for his Rosa, and a heart filled with gratitude for all the wonders he had discovered in the vast universe. The little prince realized that although the universe was immense and full of wonders, the true meaning of life was rooted in the relationships we build, the love we share, and the importance of caring for each other. And so, the little prince, with his rose blooming more radiantly than ever, continued to live on his little planet, carrying with him the memories of his incredible adventures beyond the stars. And whenever he looked up at the night sky, he knew that even in the vastness of space, he was never truly alone. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a young man named João. He lived with his widowed mother in a humble house. João, despite being kind and hard-working, faced difficult times as the harvest in that region was not going well. One day, as John was walking through the village fair, a strange merchant caught his attention. The merchant offered John a peculiar exchange, some magic seeds for his milk cow. Intrigued and hoping to improve his mother's situation and his own, João accepted the offer. Upon arriving home, João told his mother about the agreement, and, despite initial reservations, they decided to plant the magical seeds in the backyard. To their surprise, the next morning, a huge beanstalk had grown to the clouds. Curious and fearless, João decided to climb the beanstalk, eager to discover what was up there. As he climbed, the village below seemed smaller and smaller, until João reached a magical land above the clouds. There, he came across a gigantic castle that hovered in the air. Intrigued, John decided to enter, and soon discovered that the castle belonged to a terrible giant. Hiding, John heard the giant complaining about his stolen treasures and, even more surprising, about a hen that laid golden eggs. Bravely, John decided to recover the stolen treasures and the goose that laid the golden eggs to help not only his mother, but also the villagers below. He faced incredible challenges, escaping dangerous traps and outwitting the giant with cunning. During his journey, John befriended the goose that laid the golden eggs, who was much friendlier than one might expect. Together, they managed to recover the treasures and escape the giant's castle. Descending through the beanstalk, João brought back to the village not only the treasures, but also the goose that laid the golden eggs, which would provide prosperity for everyone. By sharing his adventure, Juon inspired residents to believe in their own abilities and to face life's challenges with courage. Juon and his mother lived comfortably from that day on, but Juon always remembered the lesson he learned in the clouds. Even in the face of the greatest challenges, courage, friendship, and creativity can transform the impossible into reality. And so, the story of Jack and the Beanstalk became a legend in the village, passing from generation to generation as a tale of hope and overcoming. On the vast plains of Africa, beneath a starry sky dotted with promise, Mufasa, the wise lion, rules with a majesty that echoes in the breezes. His mane, a crown of power and justice, hangs over a land where rivers snake like veins of life, and the plains stretch like a golden carpet beneath the sun that bids farewell to the nights, leaving the promise of a new dawn. On a night where the stars twinkle like celestial witnesses, Simba, the long-awaited heir, comes into the world. Mufasa's proud roar rings out across the hills, heralding the arrival of a promising era. The savannah, enveloped in a symphony of nature, celebrates the joy that extends through every leaf, every grass, and every animal heart.
Meanwhile, in the shadows of the acacia trees, Scar, Mufasa's dark brother, plots. His eyes, slits of burning ambition, reflect the desire for a power that does not belong to him. Under the rogue moon, he weaves a treacherous plan, casting a shadow over the land of the lion, anticipating the beginning of a starless night.
Tragedy, like a relentless storm, erupts when Scar draws the treacherous line. Mufasa, at the height of his glory, faces betrayal that echoes like distant thunder. The rain's tears bear witness to the fading majestic roar as the king falls in the jaws of betrayal, leaving behind a desolate savannah and a lost heir. Faced with pain that reverberates like echoes in the vastness, Simba, the young prince, flees. The once familiar savannah now seems like an ocean of uncertainty. On his journey, he finds refuge in the unusual friendship of Timon and Pumbaa, whose carefree philosophy and laid-back lifestyles bring welcome relief to wounds that time has yet to heal. Time unfolds like a leaf in the wind, and Simba, now an adult, confronts his destiny. An ancient calling resonates in his heart, guiding him back to the land of the lion. Under the golden light of the setting sun, he faces Scar and the demons of the past. The battle is a storm of emotions and roars, but in the end, Simba emerges victorious, bringing with him not only victory, but the restoration of honor and justice to his homeland. Under Simba's benevolent rule, the land of the lion flourishes again. The final stanzas describe the restoration of harmony, the reconciliation between all creatures, and the resurgence of hope. The eternal cycle persists, and Simba, with a promise to preserve his father's legacy, looks to the horizon where the sun sets, sealing the promise of a radiant tomorrow. Once upon a time, in an enchanted forest, there lived 3 adorable little pigs named Tobias, Matthew, and Benicio. They each dreamed of building their own home, but they had very different ideas about how to do it. The first little pig, Tobias, was a practical and economical little pig. He decided to build his house with straw, thinking it would be quick and easy. Tobias believed that, with less effort, he would have more time to have fun. However, his brothers warned about the fragility of straw, but Tobias laughed and said there was no time to waste. The second little pig, Matthew, was an ambitious little pig. and wanted a house that was beautiful and sturdy. She chose to build her home with wood, believing it would provide comfort and durability. Matthew worked diligently to ensure his home was solid and safe. The third little pig, Benicio, was an innovative little pig. He decided to build his house using bricks as he wanted something really sturdy and long-lasting. Benicio believed that the investment would be worth it in the long term. While his brothers built their houses, Benicio dedicated time and effort to create something exceptional. One day, a dark shadow began to hover over the forest. It was the big bad wolf, a cunning being who had learned about the piglets' constructions. The wolf, hungry and malicious, decided to pay the little pigs a visit. The wolf first went to Tobias's straw house. He blew hard, and the house collapsed in the blink of an eye. Tobias ran to Matthew's wooden house, hoping it was sturdy enough. However, the wolf managed to knock down the wooden house with a few strong blows. Finally, the wolf arrived at Benicio's brick house. He blew with all his might, but the house stood firm. Benicio had built a house so solid that not even the big bad wolf could tear it down. The piggies learned a valuable lesson about the importance of planning and investing time and effort in their goals. Together, they decided to use the brick house as a base and founded a magical city where all the animals in the forest could live in harmony. And so, the magical town of the 3 little pigs became a place of prosperity, friendship, and security, where all residents appreciated the lessons learned on the journey to build their homes and achieve their dreams. And they lived happily ever after in the magical city they built together.